So I got one viewer. I don't know if that's me or if it counts me, or if I had it open in another tab somewhere. But anyway, this is Wednesday, 6th period. I'm going to do one live lesson each week. It's not a huge event. It's just a regular thing that I want to start doing. This one won't be super long. I'm not going to make you watch a, full-length 85-minute thing. But I do want to, give a chance for the online students to see it as it happens, ask questions, participate, So today we're going to start our project. I introduced it last time and I posted a couple links, and today I'm going to post a little more. So we are going to use this idea called the hero's journey. And last time I showed a video that was like, oh, Harry Potter and Hunger Games are like this, and those are great examples because everyone knows them, and it's also sort of big enough to have all of that stuff. Since they go for multiple books or multiple movies, then you can find whatever you want to find in there. And then there's another video I showed with describing it in more psychological terms with sort of theory about what's happening under these stories and why people keep writing similar plots and so on. And then I showed this chart with some character types, and this is another good way to think about it. So you've got your hero, who, all of these are young male human, except for the fish we got here, which, by the way, Finding Nemo is a great example. But it doesn't have to be. Sometimes you can have a character who starts out old, or you can have obviously a female character. One of the great examples for this, and I think they should have used it, is The Wizard of Oz, because that really fits into all of these categories, and I'll use that as some of my examples. Or have you guys seen the movie Spirited Away, the Studio Ghibli movie? It used to be on Cartoon Network a lot, and it's a great movie. Spirited Away. It's a Japanese movie directed by Miyazaki, and I can't even type.
I didn't know that was on Cartoon Network. They never showed it, unless if it's on those.
No, I don't know. I just know people have told me that they used to see it on TV. But this is an excellent movie in general, and it's an excellent example of these types, because some of it is like, some Japanese folklore, but some of it is like Greek mythology. There's a lot of stuff in there that's taken from the Odyssey, and it's a nice mix of different cultures and different traditions. And it's old-fashioned in a lot of ways. It has sort of a more classic way of telling some of these stories. Like, for example, the end, it kind of keeps going longer than you would think, and a lot of the old stories do that. So let me show you. I'm going to post these to Google Docs, and these are just text, so it doesn't have cool pictures or anything, but I'm going to post these just to give you the basics. So we've got the steps in the hero's journey, and if you look up a video online, you might see like, oh, the 8 steps or the 10 steps. This one has 17, which I know is a lot, but this is the original Joseph Campbell 1940 whatever list that he came up with in his book, The Hero with 1,000 Faces. That is the source of all this stuff. So you just want to have one big list with all of them, and then whenever you actually use them, you can just pick the ones that fit, and you can ignore some of these. Some of them even say like sometimes, because it's not that every story gets it all every time. It's just that these are the things you see a lot, and each story might do like, 2/3 of them or something. So let me quickly go through these, even though you've already seen it and already heard the ideas. hero gets a call to adventure, and it's a call to the unknown, so something in a new world, the magical world or the special world. Maybe the hero knows about that, or maybe the hero doesn't, but there's always a new thing. And at first the hero refuses the call, because otherwise they would already be a hero. If the hero says, yeah, I'll do it, easy, then they wouldn't have to go through the journey. You want a hero who starts out missing something, and they're going to gain that thing throughout the plot. And then they get supernatural aid, which is a sword or a potion or a ring or a spell or a god who follows you. Like in Greek mythology, it might be Athena. Athena will like have a human protege that gets help. Zeus usually doesn't. Zeus is usually mean to the humans and picks the ones that die or something. But every once in a while there is a human that Zeus protects. There's a guy in the Iliad named Sarpedon, I think, who is actually the son of Zeus, but that's not very special. Zeus has a million sons, and Zeus protects him, at least for a while in that story. And then once you get the aid, you cross the threshold. So this is going out of the normal world into the unknown, the special world. You might be leaving the planet, or you might be leaving, the Shire, or you might be going into some alternate dimension, like with a magic spell, or going into the Matrix or something like that. And so that is scary at first. You're in the belly of the whale. You're in the dark woods, or the mines of Moria, or the Death Star. And there are bad guys, and there are new rules, and you have to learn to hide, and all of that. The road of trials is when you have your fights, your battles, your sort of action will be here. And then, when it gets up to the climax, you often have a different type of trial. It's not just a fight, but what if you have a romance? You have to be brave in some other way in order to confess your love, or resist temptation, or sort of choose between two sides. It often happens right before the climax. And then you have this moment, it's called the atonement, which is like the thing that you've been waiting for. Like the hero has often been planning the whole time, I'm going to meet my father, or I'm going to meet the king, or I'm going to meet the ghost, or, I always think of like the Lion King with Mufasa in the sky giving, ghostly advice. But there's always some type of father figure. It doesn't have to be literally the father, although it is a lot of the time. Another popular one, I think, is Black Panther. He has to go on a vision quest and see his father in that little purple world with the tree. And I don't know what they call it, but it's often some kind of dreamy thing like that. And then we're talking about the climax. Around here is when you gain some new calm that's going to help you fight the bad guy, or destroy the evil army or something. So for example, if you think about Star Wars, Luke is trying to shoot the weak point on the Death Star, and he can't do it. And then he has that moment where he like meditates and puts away the computer and closes his eyes and has that clarity before doing it. Or if you want to think of a more silly one, you've got Happy Gilmore, who you guys seen Happy Gilmore? I know when I was a kid that was like one of the big Happy Gilmore, Adam Sandler. He's all about anger. He keeps getting angry, but then whenever there's a key moment, he has to like go to his happy place and calm himself. And then you get the goal, the ultimate boon, the special sword, or the saving the princess or whatever it turns out to be. But like I said, the Hollywood stories might end here. A lot of movies just will have like 2 minutes after this, but in a lot of myths you keep going because the hero doesn't want to stay in the special world. The hero doesn't want to stay in the enemy's home base or something. You got to keep going. So they got to return. And at first they might say, ooh, maybe I'll stay here. Maybe I'll hang out with the, the ghosts or goblins or whatever. But they end up having to go back. Often it's like, oh, the evil base is self-destructing, or, the villain's castle is collapsing now that his power is not holding it together. So you have this thing called the magic flight where you have to escape. You might be rescued by someone you met earlier, someone on your side, or maybe it's a surprise where someone unexpectedly helps. And then you have to return, and often this is like sort of a quick version of everything in the beginning where you have to go through all these stages and through the scary woods, and this time it's easier, but you're still going through that stuff. And then when you're home, you're the master of the two worlds. So you have what you had at the beginning, which is your familiarity with normal life, and often it's like the farm or the Bilbo has his peaceful home and he knows just what to have at the 11 o'clock snack. And, he still has that, but at the end, now he also has another thing, which is the courage and the experience from the story. Dorothy at the end of Wizard of Oz is right back in the same place, but she has a new perspective after having gone through the journey. And then at the end, you have this thing, which again, it gets into that more psychological, spiritual stuff that Campbell talked about, which is freedom to live. So now, whatever was holding you back before is something you can overcome. So if you had a psychological problem where you didn't appreciate what you had, or you were too scared, or you were lacking in personal connections or spiritual connections, you might be free. For example, at the end of the Odyssey, Odysseus accepts the gods. At the beginning and throughout the story, he was fighting against the gods and trying to overcome Poseidon, and they were messing with him and making it impossible. And then at the end, he sort of accepts his place in the world, which is not bad. I mean, he's a king. It's not like he's accepting a low position, but he's accepting his, spot. And then we've got the character types. We've got a hero and an ally. You might have a mentor, a terrestrial guardian. I'm not going to read all these because we kind of went over it last class. It also helps to look at that chart that I was talking about, although this doesn't include everything. And if you're not familiar with the examples, it might not help very much. But I'm going to post these too. And last thing, I'm going to make this video as short as I can. I'm going to go through this presentation that I made as an example. Okay, this does not have every step, and it does not have every character type, because I want to show that you don't have to literally do every one. You just want to pick the ones that apply really well. Okay, so I'm going to hit present. And by the way, this is kind of what you'll do at the end. Your presentation at the end of this will have you speaking over some visual, maybe a slideshow, or maybe a Prezi presentation, or maybe something else with video. But this is our plan, and you're going to do something where you say, okay, we got the call to adventure in Star Wars, or the movie that used to be called Star Wars and is now called Episode 4, New Hope. This movie starts with Luke, and he is not special at first, right? He doesn't know anything about his past. He doesn't know anything about the larger universe. But then he gets a message, and the princess needs help. This is a classic thing in sci-fi or fantasy or, old myths or whatever. R2-D2, you could call him the Herald. That's another character type on there. The Herald is like the fox or the bird or the messenger who shows up with your quest, you know. But Luke, of course, is the hero. Then we got the supernatural aid. He gets a lightsaber. He gets some knowledge of the Force. And he gets some knowledge of, well, turns out some of it is wrong, what he hears about his father and so on. But it's at least giving him a direction. And Obi-Wan is the mentor, the person who has done this before, and he can tell you how the rules work. Then you cross the threshold, which means they have to leave their home, go to the scary city, get off the planet, and find all the sort of challenges there. Han, in this story, you call the shapeshifter, or sometimes they call that type the rogue, and he is unpredictable. He has different values than the other characters. They're on this big quest, and he's just trying to make money, at least at first. Then you got the road of trials, which is where you have to learn the rules, practice, so, you know, level up. If this was a video game, you'd call that leveling up. You'd sort of fight increasingly tougher bad guys. He has to sneak past stormtroopers at first because they're a big deal. But at the end, when you get to like Return of the Jedi, Luke doesn't worry about stormtroopers at all because he is sort of progressed beyond that. Then you get to the Abyss, which is in the belly of the beast. It's in, you know, the bad guy's home base or the Death Star. You're completely surrounded by enemies. Maybe you went there on your own, or maybe you get captured. And then, of course, you might see the enemy, sort of the main bad guy, who everyone talks about or everyone sort of is worried about all the time. Then you get transformation, where your character has to change and grow up, and maybe this is when the mentor dies, like in the movie here, Obi-Wan dies, or maybe this is when the mentor turns against you. You know, in a lot of stories, it turns out the mentor reveals a plan that maybe they're really the villain, or, you know, like Liam Neeson in Batman Begins. This is often the moment where you lose the mentor because they die or because they turn against you. So this is not the end, though. You know, this is not the end of the movie. This is like, if you were looking at the script, it would say the end of Act 2. So it's most of the way through. And at this point, C-3PO and R2-D2 are just comic relief. They do funny stuff at this point, and they're not really affecting the story as much as they did at the beginning. By the way, in this movie, like, R2-D2 is the main character for the first 20 minutes or so. We just follow him the whole way, and then eventually find Luke, but by the end, he's just sort of a side character. And then you have Atonement, where you have to take what you started with, combine it with the new stuff, put it together, and learn a certain calm. So like I said a minute ago, Luke has to, like, you know, put away the computer, listen to the Force, hear the voice of Obi-Wan, and calmly show what makes him unique. You know, the other pilots can't do it because he has his unique combination of his history and his experience and all of these things. And of course, it is an atonement with the Father, even though he doesn't know it. Darth Vader's there, and Obi-Wan is his father figure, not literally father in this movie. Finally, you return, and this movie does not show him going back home because his home was attacked and his aunt and uncle were killed, and so he doesn't literally go back, but he goes back to his friends, and they have a moment to, you know, put on clean clothes and get some rest and smile. Often there'll be like a character who doesn't smile at all, and then they finally do, and it's a relief, you know. So that's an example. You might do something like that for your presentation, and I will post this doc and this doc and this spreadsheet on Google Classroom. So let me see. I don't have anything in the chat. I don't have any questions. And I'm going to stop this now because I don't want the video to be super long. But the link is still good. You can always see it no matter where you are. And that's it.